Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in the studio for yet another episode of Savages Unscripted. It is I, Hector, and I am here with my co-host.
Papi Chulo's back in the house. How's everyone doing?
Al, I want to know, has anybody else but you called you that name?
No, not really.
Not yet? Is that the goal?
No, I just find it entertaining to name myself that because it sounds like such an off name that you wouldn't like you're kind of making my point, like no one would really speak to you that way unless you got like real good game. But I just like the name because it's so out there that when you hear, you're like, what the fuck?
Actually, thanks for bringing that up because I have a story with that already.
All right.
When I worked with the housing department at campus, there was this one guy, and like we were good friends, but he would call like those guys who was close to Papi Chulo, and he did this a lot, and it got to the point where it was like really kind of annoying. And so I think that's why whenever I hear you call yourself that, I kind of cringe a little. I think of that.
He called himself that?
No, he called other people that. So like he would talk to me. And he'd mess around a lot. And yeah, he'd be like, hey, Papi Chulo. And at first, it was, it's kind of funny. But then he would do that so much.
Oh, God.
I would see him and I would kind of cringe. Great guy. But I would just kind of cringe a little. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I got to get myself out of this scenario. So I think whenever I hear you call yourself that, I think of that.
All right.
You're not half bad. Despite what people say about you, Al, you're not half bad.
I got to change the name now. Now that you told me that story.
Yeah. 23 episodes in and we're changing your name.
All right. We'll see how it goes. Oh, but I was going to say right here in the studio, it's pretty quiet right now, from the party we had last night.
Yeah, the intern's not in right now. That's why we were having some technical difficulties right now, right before this episode, but it's just you and I.
But you know why. We both know why the party started, but let's tell the savages why. So, ladies and savages, we had this great party. Hector got wasted with White Claw. I got a little messed up with a bit of my Peruvian pisco, which basically is Peruvian vodka for all you guys, ladies and savages out there. But we basically did this party to celebrate for Hector's new not promotion. But it feels like a promotion, right? With this new job interview you got.
Hey, not yet. Yeah, interview, yes. Not promotion, not yet. Jumping the gun a little bit. But what's funny is our last episode, we were just talking about how we stopped drinking. And now you're talking about how we got fucked up. So that's great. People are probably wondering, like, hey, last week you said this. That is a lie. You just broke the canon. But yes, I was telling you. So I applied for a job months ago. And there's those jobs that, usually you'll get an answer if you got it or not, like pretty quickly. But this is one of the ones where they told me, like, all right, you're on this eligibility list. We'll let you know if something comes up. And it's been months. Like, I forgot about it. Like, This was probably like 16 episodes of Savages Unscripted ago, like that long ago. I might have done this during your time off when you weren't here. But I applied for this. They put me on this list. And I forgot about it. And like now I'm, looking towards other opportunities. And this is for position in the library. Those who know me, like I love books. And like that is one of my greatest passions. I can talk about books forever. And the library, like libraries turn me on, ladies and gents.
Whoa.
So, and it is a lot harder than it should be to work in a library. That's why like now whenever I talk to people who are in high school or college, I say like, volunteer, get yourself out there, intern. Because when I actually decided, like, you know what, I wouldn't mind working in a library. Like, I still want to teach, but I want to see what it's like working in a library. And I noticed there's those intro positions that need 3 to 4 years experience for an intro position. And like, that's not very introductory at all. And like, what sucks at that point is like, that at that point it's just more so in high school or in college, like, did you put in that work? And at times that just wasn't our interest at the time. So we don't, do that volunteering. And that was my situation until I finally found something that I qualified for. I applied, I got put on this list. And months later, just a few days ago, they called me, and this lady was like, "Hey, you applied for this library position not too long ago. Are you still interested in this?" And like, I cut her off. I was like, "Yes, I'm ready for this." And she told me like, "All right, do you want to set up?" I was ready. I was like, "Let's have the interview right now," but let's have it on the phone. Yeah, and she was about to tell me like, "Oh, would you like to have this appointment?" You know, she was about to say Friday, and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." She was like, "I haven't even told you the time." I was like, "I'll open my schedule." So I had my appointment just yesterday. It was an interesting thing. Ahead of time, what I like to do now is whenever I go into an interview, I like to think about the job itself and the people that are in that job. That way you can keep in mind like what kind of people they're interested in, you know, personality wise. So I went in and there was a few girls there like waiting for their interview. And I noticed like everyone was so quiet and awkward. And that's like not me anymore. And so I'm sitting down, I'm just smiling. And I was like, "So are you here for the interview?" And these girls, they just nod awkwardly. And I was like, my competition. And again, they didn't answer. I was like, "Oh, this is awkward." So I just told them like, "Oh, you know, good luck to both of you." And they told me, you know, good luck as well. And time went on. Anyway, so it got to be my turn. And I met with 2 library administrators. It went great. You know, we were laughing, we were talking, we were chatting. And at the very end, they told me like, "All right, well, you know what? We really liked you. We would like you to come back. Let's schedule a second interview." And I was like, "Awesome, okay." But I'm not sure if it's jokester Hector or if it's the chatterbox in me. But I told them I'm ready for that interview right now. And
I mean,
one of the ladies, I didn't say like super cocky, you know, I didn't say like annoying or anything like that. But one of the ladies looked at the other and she's like, "Hey, I think the regional manager's in the building right now."
Oh, nice.
So she told me, "If you want to just wait in the waiting room for a few more minutes, we'll do that second interview right now." And I was like, "Great." So I went to the waiting room, I waited, and yeah, the regional manager called me in. So that second interview, I had it like within 8 minutes. But so, you know, that interview went great. That's besides the point. I won't know yet how this turns out until I get the call. They said in a few days. But this just got me realizing that at times we're too afraid to speak up or we're too afraid to act, you know? And I was talking to a few friends about this, but at times we're not bold enough. And in my situation, I was accidentally bold. I put myself out there. I'm not sure if it was jokingly, but I put myself out there, you know? And in my mind, I was like, "Hey, I'm here for an interview now. Like, I'm already dressed up." I came with this confidence of being professional and answering questions. Why don't I just do this right now, you know? And I did that, and luckily it worked out in my favor. But that's what happened with my interview yesterday.
Do you think you would? I don't think it was luckily, you know, you were already set, and you love reading, like you stated. You were for sure ready to work there the first day if they told you already or they gave you the job. It's just that sounds great. I didn't read up on the post, but now that I listened to it for the first time, you're in, bro. I'm telling you that right now. If you're already putting yourself out there, I'm thinking like, why are you applying for this? You should go for Google or some shit like this.
Well, okay, no, so I actually did look into Google jobs, but those are not nearby at all. That's Northern California. But I did look into those.
Uber.
That is something, you know, if I'm ever up there. Did you say Uber?
Just Uber up there, bro.
Or Google? Oh, I think you said, should I apply for Uber?
No.
I'm gonna Uber there every day.
I mean, those companies are pretty well. They will.
But no, I've considered that too. And it's just, I've always wanted to be in that sort of environment around books, and that's always been just very important to me. Like, I was even telling them yesterday, like, to me, like, the library's always been like a safe space. Like, it's not just for reading and it's not just for research, but like whenever I'm there, I'm comfortable. I'm in my own world. Like, whenever you're in the library, it's quiet. You're not there to look at others. You're not there to care about others. You're there doing your own thing. It's like a cafe without the coffee. It's basically what it is. You're in your own world. You're just doing your own work, your own thing, your own projects, whatever your reasoning may be. And I've always been attracted to the idea of libraries for that. But be bold.
That's right, ladies and savages. We bring you guys back with another lesson of the day. Be bold. No matter what situation it is. It could be a job. It could be some crush of yours. Or it could be just someone, cutting you in front of the line. Whatever it is, that's practice, baby. And that'll get you somewhere one day.
Actually, here's a great topic, Al. It's funny is ahead of time, you and me said like, hey, we could talk about this, this, and this. But we knew we are going to bring up other shit as well. And that's exactly what I'm doing right here. But what are some of your best, or what is your best interview tip?
I would say, because I always look at it that you should always look at the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is probably that someone's better than you. There's a better candidate than you, at least resume wise. So the thing that makes you the difference makers, make the person like you, be a likable person. Don't be so rigid with your answers. Kind of connect it with humor, possibly with some sort of insight to the business, or complimenting even the person. Look at their desk. Anything that makes you be more likable, because at the end of the day, maybe it could be the HR head that you're interviewing and they'll give you a good word, or even the owner could be the guy, and it won't matter at times, at least not in the moment, but whenever they're making the decision, you're going to be more memorable compared to the other person that was probably more qualified, but their answers weren't as great as yours. So just try to loosen up, try to be more open to discussion with them. Even if it's business related, for sure, keep that in mind. But always try to be more social to the person. Don't think of them like your boss already. Think of them like a coworker. Because at the end of the day, they could possibly be working with you. Or if it's an HR, they're going to see how you could possibly affect the work habit or the work environment there. And if you're positive, you're complimentary, you're likable, you could possibly even be a leader. You could kind of give some sort of motivation from just your positive energy from there, and that will be a big plus for you to possibly get that job. So I would always say that, just be really likable, loosen up, and try to get them cracking a smile or even some laughs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the first thing. That's actually what I was going to say too. That's the first thing I noticed when I went into the interview. So when I said that, I was sitting in the waiting room and I was kind of surveying the area, seeing what it's like there. And I noticed, like I said, there was a couple of girls there for the interview as well. And the one thing I noticed, like, these girls were very quiet and awkward, and they were on their phone. Like, not to knock them down. I don't know them personally. Like, they might be some of the smartest people ever. One of them might have the cure for cancer, But, and that's the thing, like, you don't, like, these girls might be honestly a lot smarter. But I noticed at that moment, like, they didn't have that energy and that enthusiasm. At least apparently, like, to me at that moment. So I know, like, I've worked in positions where my enthusiasm mattered. When I was in RA or when I worked, like, in the bookstore or something, like, the way I present myself, I know I can do that. I know I'm a very energetic, enthusiastic person. That's something I've been told a lot. Like, the way I talk. Like, right now, I'm fucking waving my arms around while I'm talking. Mm-hmm. I'm just naturally very enthusiastic. And, I've worked with kids. I know how to get people's attention just by talking, just the tone of your voice. So when I went to that interview, when they were talking to me, I didn't see it. Like, just like you said, honestly, that's one of the smartest things you've ever said, Al.
Thank you.
Kudos to you. I commend you. Where you said, don't talk to them like they're your boss already. And the way I saw it was, this is a meeting between two adults giving each other ideas. They're asking me questions. I'm giving them information. That's what it is. So I saw it as like a collaboration. And there was a few times where, I focused on the way I was talking and expressing myself. And, I'm actually going to share this because this one I think is very important. So what they said was they're going to place me in a library based on where there's an opening. And they told me about a specific library. And one of the questions out of nowhere, like completely out of left field, the regional manager asked me, how do you feel about working with animals? And in my head, I'm like, what? But immediately I jumped on it and I told her. So I don't know if you know this, Al, but when I was in high school, so I needed to do some volunteer work, and everyone was doing like church. Church was the easy thing, and it was the go-to. And I was already going to church. I don't want to volunteer at church. I want to do something new. I want to learn. So back where I lived in Fontana, there was this nature center. It was called the Maryvale Nature Center. It's a little place in Fontana. They have like this nice little pond. They have ducks, and it's like a little preserve. They have animals and stuff inside there. And I know they have chinchillas, they have snakes, and I think tarantulas. And they do activities for kids, like a little museum. It's a little preserve. And so I volunteered here like years ago. And I actually they had this tortoise. His name was George. And I used to walk it. They taught me how to feed this tortoise and take care of it and walk it. And that tortoise was an asshole, by the way. But besides the point, so immediately when she asked me if I'm comfortable with animals, I was like, actually, I have experience with animals. And I told her, like, not just dogs and cats. And I explained this. And she was like, wow. And, you know, of course, I watched the way I talked about it, too. And she was like, wow, like, you're one of the first people when I bring that up. You're not just caught off guard. Like, animals? Like, I was ready for that. And I had that answer ready. And I think it's just that. Honestly, just everyone's going to have an answer. But not everyone's going to express themselves in that same way. And you should try to be excited, enthusiastic. Show that you care for this job.
You could also, what I would also add was, is take an improv class, because that kind of goes to the moment that there's definitely going to be questions where you're caught off guard. At times, like a perfect example, at least for sales and marketing, would be like, sell me something. And at times you're like, to give me something to sell, you know, you immediately right away off the bat have to already be having your words in mind, know what you want to sell, and how you're going to structure your speech. But improv is definitely great, because at the same time, even though your context could be not the best, your delivery and your confidence just is great energy for that person to listen to.
Exactly. Hey, ladies and savages. Perhaps after this podcast, you guys are probably considering making your own. And in that case, I just wanted to tell you guys about Anchor. Anchor is the perfect way for you guys to make your own podcast. They supply you with the tools you need to record and the tools you need to edit as well. So you guys should definitely check this out. Before Anchor, Al and I knew nothing about podcasts, and now we're semi-professional. Well, one of us is anyway, but you guys should definitely check out Anchor. I'm sure you guys would enjoy it. If you guys are interested, you guys can download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm.
But oh my god.
Have you ever done improv?
Yeah, I was in an improv class in my second to last quarter in college.
Oh, no shit. I did not know that.
Yeah, I know how to BS a lot of stuff.
You didn't act like it, Al. I didn't know you were acting.
I mean, it just depends whoever I'm with, you know?
If you could be in any genre of movie, what movie would you want to be in?
I think either a drama or... I think drama.
You'd probably be like in a novella.
Oh, yeah, you know, fucking getting slapped all the time.
I'd probably be in a horror movie, and I'm probably that one person that fucking jokes around and I get killed like first or second. That'd probably be me. I'm that person that makes you laugh and then dies. That'd probably be me.
It'd be like the one just poking fun at the killer. It'd be like, nah, man, there's nothing out here. Next thing they know, they're like, Hector, where's he at? Your glasses are on the floor.
My last line would be marketing Savages Unscripted. I'd be like, wait, I'm trying to listen to this last episode. Die.
And we are out. Oh, that's great, man. Improv. Have you ever done improv before?
I've thought about it. I was always so I have considered taking like improv classes when we were in college, but they always interfered with the class that I did need that quarter. So, you know, that was something that I just wanted to do for fun, but it always happened to take place or a time when I needed something else. But I've known friends that did it, and I saw them like practicing and stuff, and it looked really fun. And I've seen improv on The Office, that episode with Michael Scott. Remember when he brings in the gun every time? So Michael Scott is my experience with improv, but I love acting though. If anyone has any ideas for like a screenplay or any sort of short film and you need an actor, you guys got me. I'm still waiting to get called up for Spider-Man.
I could see you being that one character from the Spider-Verse, the small one with the main character when he's wearing the Spider-Man suit for the first time, and then there's that meme where he's with the bigger Spider-Man. I can see you being that smaller one.
Hey, I am average sized. TBH, FYI.
I mean, we'll see where it goes. Sony, if you're listening out there, we got ideas. Hector's got some, you know, I got some too. let us know. Just follow us on savages.unscripted at Instagram. But
we gotta release a Savages Unscripted movie. That's what we're gonna have. That's the end goal. That's the end game for this. This is just all of this is advertisement for that movie.
That's a good way of putting it right there. I mean, at the end of the day, what's the goal, For us, it'll be to release like a trilogy or quadruple or of a Savages Unscripted series right here. Just like the Avengers did. But hey,
I had said earlier that one of the goals for this podcast is I want our Twitter to become bigger than Donald Trump's. And, of course, I want that one day. It's going to be a long time. I know that realistically. But I want to come to a point where people go up to us and they quote us. It's happened to me once or twice. It's been a while. But that shows that people listen. And I want that. Like, I want someone... Like, for example, let's just say you're at a bar and you're getting fucked up. I want someone to walk up to you like, hey, I thought you didn't drink. I thought you gave up drinking. I want someone to quote or bring some of this stuff up. I think that would be really funny. If you guys like something in particular, let us know. I actually had a friend last week and I made a comment about White Claws being like good on my tummy, and he tweeted it and he was like, bro, this had me dying. And I was like, that wasn't even meant to be funny. I was being honest.
See, man,
I drink White Claws because they're nice to me. They don't kill me like other drinks and they don't destroy me.
Actually, I was recently at Bevmo with my friend. We were buying some drinks for a party, and we stopped by White Claw. We stopped by the aisle that had White Claw in front of it. And he asked me like, have you tried White Claw before? I'm like, nah. And I asked him, have you? He's like, yeah. And I was like, how are they? He's like, nah, they're weak. And I'm like, okay, that's Hector right there. I just immediately thought of you.
So here's the thing about White Claw. Like, you can't drink a White Claw with the idea of, oh, we're getting fucked up tonight. No, it's not. It's not a bottle of tequila. It ain't a bottle of whiskey. That's what it's meant for. It's meant to just enjoy and chill and kick back. And what's funny is, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I talked to somebody about this. So White Claw blew up because of the meme. When that meme started coming out, that's when people started talking about it. That's when people actually considered, hey, let me drink this. People started buying that. So it's basically like sparkling water. Not everybody likes that stuff. So if you don't like that stuff and you try this out, no, you're not going to like it.
So White Claw is a good, just a chilling drink, basically. A drink that's in your hands for more than 10 minutes. That's what you're saying.
Not just that, but it's meant to be a little healthier. It's like getting a light beer and wondering, like, why is this weak? Like, well, you're drinking a light beer. What do you expect?
But it's obviously a higher level than Bud Light.
It's like judging a salad by the fact that it does not have meat. Come on. That's basically what it is. But, yeah, so you were saying, did you guys buy the White Claws?
No. We ended up buying some IPAs. Are you a fan of IPAs, by the way?
Yeah, when I last drank, like really drank, I didn't mind an IPA. I haven't had one in a while, but I love at the very back of Bevmo, all those weird different IPAs that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all really cool. I like trying like different ones. The Space Dust one is really good. I think that one's a double IPA. That one was really good. Honestly,
for me, I'm not a fan of IPAs just in general, because it could be a hit or miss. Like, it's kind of like stouts for you, at least, because some of them are really good and some of them are just the flavor's not there. It just isn't, the quality is not there, for at least for me, or just the flavor doesn't go well with what I like. But let's move away from alcohol. I know we've always been talking about like, oh, we don't drink and stuff and like that, and now we're saying this whole episode is about, we've been mentioning alcohol a lot.
At this point, we have to be one day sponsored by some sort of alcoholic beverage, have them send us drinks, even though we're like, we don't really drink them. Unless they're White Claws. This episode is brought to you by White Claws, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, we should definitely try to seal down a Bevmo sponsorship, so every week or every other week we could have like a different drink. just a chilling, not getting buzzed or fucked up, and just give it a little review towards the end. That would be dope. So if Bevmo, you're listening to us.
All right, here's what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a favorite drink or a favorite beer, send it in to us. Let us know if you want us to try this. We'll review it. We'll drink it on the episode. Al will get drunk. How about that? I think that sounds amazing.
That's even better. Just please make sure it's not Bud Light.
You wanted to bring something up.
Please make sure it's not Bud Light. Oh, yeah. So now you're talking about wanting to have the biggest account that's bigger than Trump, you know? Let's just come on. Let's just bring it down and talk about what's going on between the U.S. and Iran. So have you been up to date or at least know some of the stuff that's going on?
I know bits and pieces. Like I told you, my mind's been on other stuff.
U.S. and Iran, it has been interesting. It's just been, to say the least, like a hectic week or two. It's been going on from people just making memes about World War III to literally crashing I think it's the military website. Oh no, the FAPSA website. For it? No. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it was a government website where people were basically wondering, if I ask for financial aid, am I going to be one of the first ones to be drafted? So there was a big concern between the two. It was between humor or serious worries about if you're going to be going to war with Iran. But it's just crazy, dude, to me, because I've tried to listen to both sides, you know. In one hand, Trump has been bashing Obama's deal that they gave him money, that it wasn't strict enough, and that Iran wasn't following certain terms, that they weren't supposed to get involved with other countries in the Middle East or try to, you know, conquer them or have military on their territory, which seems like they had in Syria, which was a problem. And that's why he just terminated the contract earlier on last year. And that led to more tensions between the U.S. and Iran. And then the thing that hit the line for at least U.S. was that since Iran was getting involved in trying to kind of put their influence over the Middle East, Trump decided to kill one of their biggest leaders, military leaders. That was supposedly one of the big key factors for them to be having some sort of success in conquering, or at least having one of their brightest leaders, military leaders. So Trump decided to kill him. No approval of the government whatsoever, Congress, nothing. He just did it. Blew him up, and everyone in Iran is mad. But the thing that was crazy was, you know, there was obviously protests and people were just irate that this happened, and especially the government too. But then the one thing that surprised me was that some Iranian students, if I'm saying that right, my apologies if I'm not, were actually protesting about the killing of the man, and they were also protesting how possibly Iran was getting involved in Syria and all these other countries. And there's proof that Iran was getting involved or trying to put their influence over other countries, because recently they have, you know, those body cams on their soldiers. And this video came out from Syria that they released from a body cam of an Iranian soldier, where they shot them down, and then they put this video out that showing that there was Iranian soldiers boots on the ground in Syria. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of crazy for them, you know, to be going against their own deal that did say, you know, don't get involved with these people. And even though the US already pulled out of that deal, Iran was still in the deal with Russia, and I think some big countries in Europe, maybe Britain, I can't fully remember the list, but they were still doing this. So that kind of showed and backed why Trump decided to kill that leader. But at the same time, you know, the execution was terrible. It wasn't diplomatic at all. So that has its stuff going against it. And then to look at the other side, you know, this Obama's deal was just meant to be something to keep people at ease, you know, peace. You want the Middle East to thrive, and you want these Middle Eastern countries to thrive, especially Iran. But to be fair, it was just people are scared of the nukes or the possibility of them making nukes. This is why the deal was made. But it it did bring that, and it brought peace. But now Trump is trying to rescale this whole thing over, and honestly, this whole thing wouldn't have happened if he wouldn't have pulled out of this deal last year. But for the moment, it seems like there could be renegotiating, and especially after what Iran recently commented, where obviously Iran did retaliate with the U.S. after the killing of their leader, with bombing their bases in Iraq. But it was a planned attack. It's a planned retaliation. They hit up Iraq and they're like, hey, yo, tell the U.S. bases that we're going to bomb them. So they for sure wanted to be cautious because they know they could get stomped by the U.S., especially with their economy being bad already as it is, with all those rigid sanctions they have, and the European countries backing the U.S. with those. So it was kind of a conservative retaliation to the U.S. And because of that, and there was no casualties, that was the highest peak that people were scared that World War III was going to happen. But then, this week, Trump gave his 10-minute speech where he said, as long as I'm president, Iran is not going to have nukes. And after that, his whole tone was, there's no real threat here. There's no real how would you say it? There's no tension between the U.S. and Iran, and people were so scared because Trump could be such a volatile character. But after that happened, there was just one more worry, which was the Boeing 737, if I'm correct, was crashed down in Iranian soil, and that plane was headed towards Ukraine, and 170 passengers died instantly in that, or at least throughout the fire. And the thing that sucked was people, again, they were like, oh my God, that's another reason why the war could start. But there was no Americans in there. I think I've heard some reports, but mostly the reports said there was none. But at most I heard 2. It was mainly Canadian citizens, not even full-on Canadians. They were Canadian citizens from Iran. I mean, they were born in Iran. So all those people died. And Iran just recently came out and said that was their mistake, and that was one of the missiles that was meant to be launched to the U.S. bases, but it accidentally could have hit that plane as well. So this whole week has just been like trickling up with these small yet big factors coming into play to be just put down by planned executions. And surprisingly, Iran, being not putting putting such a huge emotional retaliation towards it. They admitted their mistake with shooting down the plane, and then they did a small scale retaliation with the U.S. So it's been a hectic week, but I'm pretty sure, at least for the moment, no 18 to 25-year-olds could be scared that they're going to get drafted in the near future.
Yeah, one thing I have had my eyes on is more so the social media aspect and the social media reactions to this stuff. The big thing was the World War III memes. And I think this is one part where social media is important, because I think that's how I found out about it. I think it was like the first or second day of January where all this started like really heating up. And I actually didn't see the memes. I heard people talking about the memes, and people were mentioning, World War III memes. And I was like, what? And the thing with World War III is something we've been hearing for years. I remember back when I was a senior in high school. I forgot what the story was back then and the tensions, but I remember the idea of World War III, a possibility of it. And then there were these memes, and that's when I pieced together, what was happening between, Iran and the United States. But people were joking around a lot about it. And, of course, social media being social media and memes being memes. But one of the realest things I read was somebody in another country, and they tweeted and said the reason why Americans are joking about this is because they don't understand war. They're too privileged to understand the retaliation and the effects of war. And that was truly eye-opening. And I actually had a discussion with a few people too. I was talking to a friend of mine because he had mentioned the World War III memes. And I straight out told him, you know what? I think I posted one meme. I thought it was funny. But then within an hour, I realized this is fucked up. Why did I post this? And I immediately took it off. And I told my friend this, like, yeah, like, I posted this. I realized the ramifications of it, and I deleted it. And he told me the same thing, like, you know what? I posted a lot. I deleted all of it. And this is a very serious topic. And I understand social media, people joke around a lot, but people were joking a lot more than informing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I was going to bring up too was this was a positive use of social media. But, the thing with mass media, media, the news and all that stuff is they show us what they want to show us. And when we tend to think of the Middle East, Iran and all these other places, we think of desert, we think of war and terrorists. Like, that's the picture that they painted for us. Like, I don't know about you, but that's what they've shown us.
Mm-hmm.
And there was actually this big thing going on Twitter a few days ago, about a week ago. And people made a hashtag. I forgot what it was. It was like Iran Heritage or something like that, some Iran sites. But people were, because I know Donald Trump had mentioned, if, basically if need be, we will bomb more. We'll send more missiles or whatever. And there were people on Twitter from Iran and from overseas and from the Middle East basically saying, like, we are not the way you show us to your people. Like, that is not us. That depiction that you show people of us being killers, that's not most of us. That's not who we are. And so there was this hashtag going on where people were taking photos of tourist areas in Iran and like these beautiful places. And because, like I said, we all think of it as maybe just dirt and desert, but that's not what it is. And people were showing like these landmarks and these beautiful places there. And they were showing this tweet just to show like, hey, we're people too. We have reason for people to come here and we're beautiful. And to me, that was like a very positive thing that came out of this whole social media thing with the whole Iran thing. But man, I took this whole news thing into a different direction.
That's good. Let's get away from that. What was one of the craziest things that, at least for my personal life, that drove at least my mom crazy was that she kind of read up on what ages you could get drafted in. And I'm 24. And I think the cutoff or the assumed cutoff is 25. She's like, oh my God, you only need one more year. You need one more year. She was super worried.
That's a big thing too. Because of this whole idea of a war, everyone thinks like, oh, there's going to be a draft. No, there's not going to be a draft.
Okay.
You guys don't understand what a draft means.
And thank you for bringing that up. Just to clarify too, because I did a little research on this, was, first of all, if a draft, and the guy from I forgot what website, but basically military representative said or clarified that if a draft were to happen, Congress will need to approve it. So, and just a simple search, what's the most, who has most chairs in Congress? And it's Democrats. Democrats, at least to my opinion, I don't think want war, or anybody in general, So you shouldn't be worried as much, and it'll be a big process. Nah, I don't think it's gonna get to that extent. But what I was about to say was, oh, and the other thing I was always bringing up, at least to my mom's worries, was, if a war were to happen, people at times want to back it up, like 9/11, when we were attacked in our own soil by another country or another terrorist country, supposedly. Well, when emotions get high like that and you want kind of revenge and retaliation to what they did to you, and they destroy your peace, and they brought this whole uproar towards Middle Eastern people, even though that was super unfair. That type of emotion, okay, that's retaliation. You definitely want that. People will go for it, even though it could lead to people dying. People kind of want revenge on what they did to you and your country. But when your country is attacking another country or doing some sort of plan, the first country was the one, your country was the one to take the first step. I don't think people will back that up, because your peace wasn't distorted. You weren't really physically directly harmed. So there's no way people will want to support that. So the thing with the war, I think that was at least an X factor for me. People wouldn't want this to begin with. So if there was to be a war, there will be more than enough, at least protests or a delay of what could happen. Just like in, I think, World War One, when the U.S. was staying away from the war until I forgot what boat it was, but one boat had like 50 Americans in it, and it was sunk by, I think, the Germans, and then it was reported throughout the whole U.S. So right away, just that direct, emotions that they killed Americans, they killed one of us. That sort of retaliation gets you back to the war, and that's why that was one of the big factors why the U.S. joined World War One, and then World War Two. Same thing. We got attacked, Pearl Harbor, retaliation again. So just thinking back in history, you gotta see that it's mostly retaliation we go for. But in this case, we did the first step. We weren't attacked, so I don't think that will be taken well to at least start a war, and especially that would reflect on Congress too. With Democrats and even Republicans, I don't think they want war, unless it's the big companies, the big military companies. But yeah, that was a little bit of my rant / information.
Damn, just a little bit, huh? That's like 80% of the episode.
Nah, man, you had your time too.
What a world we live in. What a world we live in. I will say for sure, though, that 2020 has already been just quite a year. And this is, as we're recording, it's barely the 11th. I already feel like it's been a whole year already of just things going on and situations brewing. It's been quite a year.
What was my favorite meme of the World War III, just to get on the positive side?
What?
It was these soldiers lined up behind the wall, ready to get to or attack another enemies on the other side, and they were all lined up with suits. And then in the caption was like, "Fortnite kids going to war," and they were all with their freaking their camos and their little consumables. What do you call them again? Their freaking dances and shit. I forgot what it's called, but that was always making me laugh.
I know nothing about Fortnite. Do you want to know which meme I shared that I deleted?
What was that?
It was funny, but like I said, it's just in the end I realized like this isn't a topic to really joke about. But those of you that saw this on my Instagram timeline, you guys probably remember this, but I posted a photo of that guy from Blue's Clues, the original one. I know there's been a few guys on Blue's Clues, but the original guy.
Okay.
And he's sitting down on the couch and he's getting the mail and it says, we just got a letter. When he says, I wonder who it's from. And he opens it and it's a draft notice and he says, oh, fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So immediately I was like, man, that's really funny. But then after posting it, I was like, man, that's really fucked up. So I deleted it. But yeah, that's the one I posted. I might still have it on my phone.
Dude, yeah, and just going back to what you previously stated, memes could be good, but you gotta be informed at times, and that kind of goes back to also your job story or your interview story, where the library, maybe the library or just reading in general, some sort of lack there could possibly be within students, or you could possibly improve your reading. There's such a big open topic about that. I don't know what you think about that.
I think my main issue, and because I use social media, I use it to communicate, especially what's going on with the podcast, and more so to give positive messages. And of course, as I'm posting, I'm also reading, what are my friends putting, what are people posting, what are people sharing. That's very important to get to know the people you're friends with, because you're seeing what kind of information, what kind of content they're sharing. And the one thing I notice, this might be one of my biggest pet peeves. I notice a lot of people share stuff and they don't know what's going on. They'll read we've talked about this before. People will read a headline, share it. And there have been times where someone shares something just completely false. And I'll tell them and I'll correct them. And so there was a good friend of mine not too long ago, but he shared this post on his social media. And it was about this teacher sharing like satanic stuff with his class. But the way the story was framed was just super like anti-religious and super political. And I did my research. Immediately I found that everything he shared was wrong. And I told him, hey, I'm sending you this link. This is 3 different sources I'm sending you that prove that what you posted isn't even remotely right. And he was like, oh, thanks, man. And I told him, like, I don't mean to sound like a dick.
But get your facts straight.
Usually if someone says that, you know, they're going to sound like a dick. But I told him, like, I understand you believe this, but you're sharing this misinformation with people now. And they're, you know, just like you believed it, there are going to be other people that believe it. And they're going to create this big uproar. And people are going to believe this false information. That's how it happens. But here's the thing. I told him, all I did was I went to Google. I typed in the city and what the topic was. And I found like 4 to 5 links of actual facts of what was happening. And I told him, like, that took a few seconds to do research. That's all you need to do. And what really annoys me is just that people share stuff, but they don't really understand it. And just like I told you, so with those memes, I started noticing those memes, but I didn't know what was going on. So I looked into it. And I think that's what we should try to do in 2020. If you're going to share something, the least you can do is do a quick Google search. What am I sharing? Like it's really easy. Yeah, that really grinds my gears.
Did you hear recently about that rapper? I forgot her name. Oh yeah, that's right. Her name's No Name.
Yeah, topic I brought up to you.
Hey man, smooth transition there. Thank you for ruining it.
Actually, that's a great topic to bring up right now. But you are a good actor, Al. All right. Yeah. So there's this rapper. Her name is No Name, and I'm not sure, you know, if she's underground or just how small. I've never heard of her, and I've never heard people talk about her. And a lot of people I know listen, you know, different types of rap, but her name is No Name, and she seemed fairly young. But on NPR, there was this article where she was saying, and she's basically trying to make it like a holiday, not just a holiday, but like one of those national holidays. You know, there's all those pet days, brother days, half quarter sister day. I don't know. There's a day for everything now. Pancakes day. But so she wants to do something, and I really stand by this. I like this. I haven't even heard her music, but I stand by her 100%. But she said there should be this day where we try to get like lots of people that don't have a library card. And she's a huge advocate for libraries. Mm-hmm. And she basically shared this story. Her mom basically, when she raised her, she made sure they were always reading books. And her mom owns her own bookstore. And a big thing here too is she had this bookstore where they mainly focused on authors of color. And there's, you know, this wide variety of books that people didn't really know about and people don't really talk about, but that's really what they focused on. And if I'm correct, her mom's her store went out of business because of Amazon. And that was the big thing. You know, Amazon was initially a bookstore, and they're just very convenient in their business model. And a lot of people are going out of work, losing their businesses. But that was something of importance to this rapper, you know, because that was a big upbringing for her, you know, reading and her mom having her read. So she also she started a book club, and she started talking about, you know, we should all have a library card. It's not just for books. You know, there's computers there. There's all these resources. They have programs and activities. And not just that, and I'm just not just saying this because I applied for a library position, but librarians are some of the smartest people you could meet there. They're a resource. They know all these books. They know everything about publication and all these resources there. And she was saying, like, you can go there, have a conversation with somebody, learn something you don't know. You can find out about a book you never even consider yourself reading, and your life can be changed. And this is free. All you have to do is apply for a library card, and, you know, you have complete access to this. And that just got me realizing, like, not many people have library cards anymore. We like to flex our cars and our jobs and our haircuts and shit, but you never see people saying, like, oh, look, ladies, look at my library card. You know, you don't see that. I have a library card, and I am proud of it. Do you have a library card, Al? You probably don't, do you?
I do. I just don't know where it's at.
Do you? It expired a few years ago, huh?
I thought it never expired.
No, they expire. Maybe it's county to county, but the one I have, that one recently expired. I had to renew that card. But libraries, man, dude, they're really important.
I like the intent, but like being realistic though, you could just not going library aside. I like the intent that we should start reading more and learning more, but there's so many different apps that give you that. And at the end of the day, it's not the physical thing where you want a library card, but it should be your intent of wanting to learn more. But don't you think what will be the big thing to make you want to go to a library? You know, you gotta walk there, drive there, get a specific book. Maybe there's a limited options compared to online. There's also groups.
I think the big theme here is not everybody has access to a phone or technology, but everybody has access to a library.
Okay.
It's like free. That. And that's the big thing here. You know, like, I agree with you, but you're talking from someone of privilege. And I'm in that privilege too. I have a phone. I have a laptop. Maybe most of our listeners, well, no, actually, they have to if they're listening to our podcast, but you guys have phones, you guys have laptops, or however the hell you guys listen to us and tune in on Savages Unscripted every Monday at 7 a.m., everybody. But, you know, we're privileged. We have that privilege. It's not a bad thing, but we have that resource. Not everybody has that, but everyone can have access to a library. You know, of course, proximity-wise, you might not have one nearby. That might be the only thing. And earlier you were mentioning books. It's not just for books. There's different resources in the library. There's lots of different things. They even give programs and free classes in libraries. There are some libraries that actually have animals there and stuff, and they just do random stuff there, and all of this is free. You just need to apply for a library card, and boom, you have access to all this stuff. When I was younger, I don't always think about this, but my mom took us to this library every Saturday, and I wouldn't even always go there to read. At the time, I didn't care for reading. You know, it was basketball and video games back then. But we didn't have a computer back then. And we had access to computers here and printers and the internet, or we didn't have that at my house. So there's other resources, not just books. It's not just everybody should read, which I think everybody should read. You don't have to read. But there's way more resources than just books. There's people you can meet there. There's this librarian, there's computers, there's internet, there's even just non-technology based resources.
You know who should go to library?
Our listeners, everybody. Let's have a meet and greet. I'm just kidding.
That's good, actually. That's really good. I was gonna say flat earthers, but that's a good option too.
No, we gotta throw an inflatable globe at them, Al. We gotta teach them, you know, what a sphere is. You know, there's nothing globe? To fear but sphere itself.
Oh, that's amazing. Libraries, man. When was the last time you actually went to a library and like used, you know, the resources for it?
2 or 3 months ago. I was going to the library all last year. Like, basically after I graduated college, there was a point where I was buying books because to me, I was like, when I finish a book, it's kind of like a trophy. This is this thing that I finished and I cared for, and I like letting people borrow it. But there was this point where I was like, fuck it. That's too much space. I don't have space for all these books. I still have books in boxes right now. But I was going to a library weekly, and I would always check out like a stack of books. And I wouldn't even read all of them, but I like having all these options and all these books. And they also have movies and like TV shows and CDs. I've seen some that have like records and shit. Libraries are cool. You can find some cool shit there.
Who knows? You could probably find your future mate in there.
That's the end goal.
That's the reason you go to a library, ladies and savages. Just before we wrap up, though, that reminds me of a story I had when I was little. So, when I was, like 10, 12, and when I used to live in by my...
Was that like 3 years ago for you?
When I used to live in another city, or my school was next to a library. And usually I would walk from home to school and school to home. I wouldn't really get picked up. I would just, do it that old-fashioned way. And one of those days, it just clicked in my head. I'm like, I should read, more than what I'm doing for school. And I remember I went with my grandma one day, and we did the logistics, signed up for the card. I was so pumped. I thought I had a great credit card already. And I went in there, and my mama, I told her too, I'm going to the library. She got really excited. And she told me, you should try to get a book that's, easy for you to read. And, I went to the lower levels. They ran out of books, so I had to go a little higher. But no, to be honest with you, I was being a bit stubborn, and I chose a book that was full of drama and seemed like it was pretty complicated to understand and comprehend when you read it the first time. But I was like, you know what? No, I want to do this. And I ended up reading a third of that book, and then I just blew it off. And you constantly have to, if you rent a book, you gotta, renew it or something like that when you're renting it, right? So yeah. I didn't do that. And I think the deadline expired, so I was like, I'll go back one day, and I never went back. And let's take us down 2-3 years later, and I still haven't returned that book. And
damn, dude, you're basically a felon at that point now.
That's what I thought. I was kind of getting really nervous because I was like, I misread it, or I misunderstood, or I just didn't have clear what the fees were, after you didn't bring the book back. I was like, holy shit, like I did the math. I was like, oh my God, I owe like $90 to return this book. And that's why it probably prolonged me from returning the book, because I thought I just had such huge debt. And, when you're 10 to 12 years old, you don't have that much money. So I was like, oh man, that's all my life savings and shit. And my grandma's like, you're tripping.
I'm not going to college.
That's going to be my college experience.
All because of the book.
I got super anxious. Like super anxious. And my grandma, who, doesn't live in the US, but she just reasoned on her own. She was like, that's bullshit, I'm like, hey, if you want, let's go return this book, but I'm paying half of whatever we were paying, whatever I need to pay. I was just avoiding it, like if they were the cops and they had a warrant for me. And eventually I eventually went down there and returned my books. And I was like, oh my God, I'm about to die, $90, this and that. And the fee ended up just being $5. And I was like, oh shit. I was so happy. I had my like dollar bills wrapped around like a fucking bouncer, like a fucking...
I worked the system.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, dude. I was so happy. And then I didn't rent a book again.
There was actually an article not too long ago, maybe about a month or two ago, and they were saying that at least some counties or some libraries, like any book loan debt, they were completely like eradicating that. They were getting rid of that. And I'm not sure if you needed to turn in the book in order for that to happen. But I think it's more so just as a means of trying to get it back. Like, hey, if you don't bring this back, you're going to get charged. I think it's more so something to hold over your head for them to get back. In the end, I don't see most libraries actually charging. And I think that's the way it should be, like, you shouldn't feel penalized to go back to this library, it should be a safe space. It's not just, fuck, if I go back, I'm on this wanted list,
Especially if you're a little kid. You gotta watch out for them when you're gonna start working there, bro.
You feel like you're on a hit list. Yeah. You're gonna walk through those doors to return this book, and 2 bodyguards are gonna tackle you because you haven't returned your Junie B. Jones book.
Just get bounced in the parking lot before you make it there. Oh man, nah. Libraries are great. Ladies and Savages, if you haven't gone to a library before, or you haven't gone in a minute, go there. And please hold your urges to just get a DVD or a BH. Try to get something that has pages in it.
Not just that. Honestly, I think we could all go to a library and enjoy it. Of course, I think we think of books. It's not just books. Maybe we don't even need a computer, honestly. We might not even need a movie, but I think we all have some sort of work or some sort of reading or a project to do, and we need a quiet space. Perfect. There you go. Honestly, if anything, it's easier for me to go to a library and actually like do editing or something because I'm not in my room. I'm not distracted. I don't have my kitchen. I don't have my roommates, or I don't have those things that would normally distract me because I get easily distracted, dude. My record player, my guitar, but I don't have that stuff there. And I think it's just that space where you can just be alone. Time it feels like it slows down and you're away from those distractions. I think a library is definitely something people can check out. If anything, you know what? We should encourage people, our listeners, to, in a future episode, just go to a library and just listen to it there. Just stare around and just listen to our voices. Hopefully we don't crack too many jokes and make you guys laugh a little too much so you guys get kicked out of that library. But Al, what did we learn today?
That libraries have more resources than the book.
Very resourceful libraries. And I just want to remind people to be bold. I think we all have to remember that 2020, it doesn't have to be just another year, and it should not be another repeat of 2019 or 2018. I keep hearing people saying same year, same shit. Like if that's the case, that is your fault. I'm sorry, but it's your fault. Sad. Be bold. Do new things. Do greater things. If we're inspiring you to do a podcast, go out and do a podcast right now. Do something. Do something different. Be bold. Don't crack jokes at your interview. But be bold. Be willing to knock on doors yourself and not wait for opportunities.
And without being said,
God damn. Another TED Talk.
Another TED Talk. This has been your boy, Al/Papi Chulo, with my co-host.
It's Hector, everybody.
The Stallion. And we're out.